Okay, so let's dive in. Um, just saying you've got Snowflake experience on a resume, well, doesn't really cut it anymore, does it?
No, not really. It's become so widespread.
Exactly. Businesses are, they're betting big on Snowflake for serious data insights, stuff that needs to scale, be cost effective.
hmm
But the platform's only as good as the people using it, right? That potential. It relies on skilled individuals.
That's the key point. Companies now are looking past just basic familiarity. They need people who can actually leverage the architecture, get real results.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, keeping it pretty focused today. We want to nail down those specific Snowflake skills that genuinely make data engineers and data analysts stand out.
Sounds good. Let's clarify what those really impactful skills are.
Great. So let's kick off with data engineers. Look, writing a SQL query is one thing, but we're talking deeper here.
Much deeper. It's about a real intuitive grasp of SQL.
Hmm.
Crafting queries that are truly optimized for how Snowflake works under the hood.
Yeah, optimized is the word. And that connects directly to understanding the architecture, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That separation of storage and compute is fundamental. You need to get that.
Can you break that down a bit? Like, why is it such a game changer?
Sure. Think it like this. You've got this super scalable engine, the compute part, right? And it accesses your data warehouse, the storage, independently.
Okay.
So the big win is cost. You only pay for that engine, the compute, when it's actually running queries. Knowing that helps engineers design efficient systems, micro-partitioning, caching too. It all fits together.
Right, understanding the components. And that knowledge translates into, well, essential hands-on skills.
Definitely, like building data models that are actually designed for the cloud, not just lifted and shifted.
And setting up the pipelines, of course, using tools like Fivetran, maybe, for getting data in easily.
Yeah, Fivetran is great for ingestion, or maybe Airflow for orchestrating the more complex workflows. And dbt, of course, is huge for the transformation layer.
dbt comes up a lot.
It does. And then there's performance. Engineers have got to be good at tuning things constantly.
Puning, right-sizing the warehouse is that balancing act between speed and cost you mentioned, and keeping an eye on resource monitoring.
It never stops, really. It's an ongoing process.
And here's something interesting. The landscape seems to be shifting a bit. More scripting.
Yes, increasingly. Python is definitely a big one.
And Snowpark. I keep hearing about that.
Right. Snowpark lets you run Python and other languages right inside Snowflake for processing. So for automation, building more complex data apps, it's becoming really important for engineers.
So it allows for more sophisticated stuff directly within Snowflake.
Exactly. It's all about building that robust, efficient, scalable data infrastructure that businesses want from Snowflake.
Okay, makes sense. Let's pivot then. What about data analysts? SQL is still king, presumably.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. But again, it's about going beyond the basics. We're talking advanced skills.
Like what specifically?
Well, things like window functions for doing calculations across related rows. Super powerful. And CTEs, common table expressions.
Ah, CTEs, for making complex queries more readable.
Exactly. They break down the logic, make it manageable, like temporary little tables within your query.
Got it. And analysts often deal with messier data, right?
For sure. So being comfortable with semi-structured data like JSON directly within Snowflake is pretty crucial now. You need to query and pull insights from that flexibly.
And then getting those insights out to people who need them.
That's the next step. Integrating smoothly with BI tools. Think Tableau, Power BI. Connecting those up seamlessly is a core skill.
Connect the tools.
But it's not just the technical connection. The analyst has to communicate effectively.
Right. Storytelling with data.
Yeah, compelling visuals, clear explanations. That's what drives action based on the insights.
Makes sense. Are there skills that kind of bridge both roles, things valuable for engineers and analysts?
There are definitely overlaps. Understanding role-based access control, RBAC. That's important for everyone handling data, for security and in governance.
Good point. Data security touches everyone.
And maybe even some, basic familiarity with Snowpark could help analysts do more advanced stuff themselves without always relying on an engineer.
Interesting. What about dbt again? You mentioned it for engineers?
Well, yeah, it's often seen as an engineering tool for transformations. But an analyst who understands dbt, understands the logic built into those models, that makes their own analysis much more reliable, more trustworthy. They know where the data came from and how it was shaped.
Okay, so understanding the transformation logic is key for them too.
Definitely adds value.
Let's try to make this concrete. Picture hiring a Snowflake engineer, say for a fintech platform.
Okay.
Just saying, I've used Snowpipe isn't enough, is it? what would you really look for?
You'd want proof they've built genuinely scalable pipelines, ones that handle fluctuating transaction volumes, for instance. You'd ask about performance trade-offs they've made.
And maybe how they've used DBT to optimize things, or explained cost savings.
Exactly. How do they optimize transformations? How do they manage costs related to Snowpipe or warehouse usage? Real examples.
Okay, now flip it. An analyst interviewing, maybe for a health tech company?
Right. For them, maybe showcasing dashboards they built that actually help drive, say, clinical decisions. That's powerful.
Or maybe demonstrating how they used Snowflake features like dynamic data masking to protect sensitive patient data while still doing analysis.
Perfect example, showing practical application and impact, especially around governance in that context.
So it boils down to showing results, tangible outcomes.
Pretty much. Listing skills is step one. Showing what you achieved with those skills is step two, and it's the more important step.
How can people, demonstrate that impact effectively, especially if we're keeping things concise?
Well, certifications like the Snow Pro series certainly help validate knowledge. That's a good start.
Okay, certs are good.
But beyond that, things like personal projects on GitHub, or even short case studies, just outlining, here was the problem, here are the Snowflake skills I used, and here's the measurable result.
Measurable results, that's key, isn't it?
Absolutely. Don't just say, I improved query performance. Say, I reduced average query runtime by 30%, which meant dashboards refreshed faster for the sales team. Quantify it.
That's much stronger. Makes the value clear.
So the big takeaway here, I think, is that, yeah, basic Snowflake knowledge gets your foot in the door, but deepening those core skills, whether engineer or analyst, and crucially, being able to show the positive impact you've made with them, that's what sets you apart.
And you have to keep learning, right? Snowflake doesn't stand still.
Not at all. It's constantly evolving. So staying updated on new features, best practices, that's essential for staying relevant and effective.
Okay, great summary. Before we wrap up, maybe a final thought for our listeners.
Sure. Maybe ask yourself this. What's one specific Snowflake skill, just one, that you could focus on developing next? And then think, how could you actually demonstrate the impact of mastering that skill in your job now, or maybe the next one you go for?
Good prompt. Maybe that means looking into a SnowPro cert track or finding a small project, even a personal one, to apply a new feature you've read about.
Exactly. Take that next concrete step to build and showcase your expertise.